afternoon. Salazar Resources is a Canadian company. It's also an Ecuadorian company. We're quoted on the venture exchange in Toronto. But there's the picture of Freddie Salazar, who's the founder of the company, the name on the tin. And he is one of Ecuador's best explorers, and he's also fantastically well known for running good social projects, which means that we can work in parts of Ecuador that other people can't. Salazar Resources was founded 14 or 15 years ago with many German shareholders who've been patient along the way. And one of the first things they did was discover El Domo, which is now at the point where it's financed and ready to come into production once construction is allowed to start. And in parallel with that, Salazar Resources is looking for the next copper gold deposit in Ecuador. There are forward-looking statements in there, so please read the disclaimer in full. But really, I think this is the background to it, which is that, of course, the Andes are the capital of copper, really globally. 45% of primary copper supply in 2019 came from Chile and Peru combined. Now, the black dots down the Andes are all of the known mineral deposits, and I just went through and I looked at the names of the most famous ones, and I looked at the dates of their discoveries. And what came out was a really interesting observation, is that the golden age of modern exploration lasts about 20 years. And in that 20-year period, that's when you find the biggest deposits. So in Chile, that golden age was from 1975 to 1995, and deposits like El Indio in 1975 and Spence and Pascua-Lama in 1996 and 1995 respectively kind of bookend that golden age of exploration. Similarly in Peru, a 20-year period from 1985 with Yanacocha to 2005 with Las Bambas took place. And that exploration spend moved north. Big discoveries in Ecuador in 2003, 2005 with Fruta del Norte, which actually was a Freddie Salazar discovery. He took Keith Barron down and said, have a look at this. And that, of course, turned into a fantastic deposit. Now, there have been about 10 years of political hiatus in Ecuador, so that window, that 20-year window, is likely to expand out to 30 years, which gives us and Salazar Resources the chance to make the next discovery in the years that come. And we've got many good ideas, and we can actually see the geology opening up before that. Now, the most controversial aspect of Salazar Resources is what is the government doing in Ecuador? And we've got good news and we've got bad news. The good news is that there have been two modern mines built in Ecuador, which are real powerhouses of the economy. The government is pro-mining, it's backed mining. Last year, mining produced less than 1% of the GDP of the country. This year, it'll be more than 2%. It's a dollar-denominated country. It can't get more dollars into the system without foreign direct investment, and the mining sector is perhaps the best way to get that foreign direct investment. There's so much money waiting to come into this resources sector that it's a compelling argument for the government to support it. The negative is that the president is relatively weak politically, and there are many projects, not just mining projects, which are waiting for a presidential decree to be signed in the next few weeks, hopefully in the next week or two, hopefully in the next before Christmas. And once that presidential decree is signed, then investment can flow both for our project El Domo, but also for a port, for an airport, for a hydroelectric plant, for factories, for warehouses. So it's all pending this presidential decree to allow construction to take place across the country. A most recent piece of news for Salazar Resources, which we announced last week, is that the government has approved the fiscal terms for our project, which is the El Domo mine. We've had a 5% reduction in corporation tax, we've had exemption on import duties, all of which have hugely positive impact on the economics of the deposit. This is a high-grade, small deposit which will be mined first with an open pit for 5 years and then underground later on. Our partners have arranged the financing. The deadline is to start commercial production at the end of 2024, but that's going to be pushed back a couple of months while we're waiting for the presidential decree, so it'll now be early 2025. But it's 2% copper, 2.5 grams gold. The cash flows from this are extraordinary. Our share of this, before the new fiscal terms came through, which are going to improve this anyway, gave our share to be worth more than $100 million on an NPV basis, and our market capitalization is currently at around $12 million. And really that's driven, that valuation is driven by the fact that on an attributable basis, Salazar will be getting about 5,000 tons per annum. It's the golden triangle at the end of the arrows, or the golden diamond. It's about 11 million pounds of copper attributable to us, and last year's copper price, average copper price, $4.24. In the feasibility study, it's predicting that our total cost will be $1.26. Even if it's $1.50 or $1.80 or even $2, we're still looking at over $2 margin per pound of copper produced, and most people's forecasts for copper prices in 2025 and 2026 are much higher still. So we could be talking $2, $3 or $4 per pound margin, which on 11 million pounds per annum is $22 to $44 million attributable cash flow to Salazar Resources, and that really is the de-risking factor behind the equity story. Of course, once the presidential decree is signed, once the mining permit is there, we can go to construction. We do hope for the re-rate. We also have the exploration potential of new projects. One of the most extraordinary things about this company is that it's an Ecuadorian company. We are, I'm just going to move on to this, we are known as the Ecuadorian mining company. We are respected across the board, whether from government or at the local level or from a local owner level as a business partner, for really understanding how Ecuador works, for working with integrity within all the projects that we do. And we're unique for being a Canadian listed company with the C-suite based in Quito. So it's very different when Freddie and Pablo, the CFO, go in to meet the Minister of Mines, because they're meeting actually with the chief executive of the company and the CFO. So we have a level of dialogue within the government which is unique. And we also have a level of dialogue with the communities which is unique. And that's very much kind of a learned skill. There are other Ecuadorian companies or other Ecuadorian teams operating in Ecuador that don't do the job nearly as well as we do. So we're really proud of the way that we work. In terms of the exploration potential, we've found a new porphyry down in the south called El Potro. It's shot through with veining and sulfides. We're working this target up. We've got gold projects, Los Santos, that we've found extensive mineralization. So, plus we've got new licenses coming through when the mining cadastre opens up again, also hopefully later this year, in the next 6 weeks. And within that, when the cadastre opens, we've identified some really exciting targets, some big porphyries, some high-grade material, so to kind of keep that pipeline of projects flowing through. We have income through drill rigs and advanced royalties, and a strong shareholder base with about 60% kind of quite tightly held with institutions and families. So there we go. That's our, thank you for listening. We very much believe in acting responsibly in Ecuador. Our main thing we're going to be doing is finding new ore and creating value. Thank you very much.